Welcome everybody. I'm Donovan. I'm here with my brothers John, Drew, and our other brother Dallin off camera. He'll be on next week. And we are the Elevate, and our purpose for why we're doing what we're doing is so people can share their stories. People like to hear, or family members like to hear about the stories of others growing up, especially like their kids, their father, their mother. Me personally, my father who passed away recently, and that is why we're doing these episodes. And so today we are doing Drew's episode. Our first 3 weeks we got me, John, and Nico, and now it's Drew's turn. And hopefully when Dallin's ready, we'll do Dallin's episode. But yeah, this is my brother Drew, and we're going to talk about his story and his upbringing. So, Drew, go ahead and start off with where you're from, and yeah.
So my name's Drew. I was born and raised Sandy, Utah. I went out to high school, went on my mission, came back, and now I'm living in Harriman. Working a temp job right now. Just looking to go back into behavioral health. I got into the field. That's how I met Don, actually. It's through the behavioral health field. Found out that that's where like my passion lies, I guess, when I want to spend the rest of my career. So.
What about that?
Like, what about it? Like,
made it your passion?
My biggest thing is just being able to connect with people. I did a lot when I was on my mission, because that's basically what missionary work is. After that, even before that, found a lot of connections like that I have on the daily, just like my friends and my family. But the field really brought me closer to like just interactions with people that I never would have met otherwise. So
I think that's I don't know, John, you can speak on this too, but I see that with a lot of RMs coming into the behavioral health field, is that it reminds them so much of their mission. What do you think?
Oh, for sure, bro.
Yeah.
I think that's why I fell in love with it, is because it's just filled with service.
Yeah.
Like, that's literally all it is. It's just like serving individuals where they're at and trying to help them get to a better place. And that's what the mission is. You know, a lot of times we focus on spiritual things, but I think you talked about it. I can't remember if it's on the podcast or off the podcast, but you're talking about like your brother, like he served them first physically, and that opened up doors for service spiritually. Yeah. And so I think so. I don't know.
But that's like the biggest similarity that I'm seeing between it, is just like being able to serve them. And as a missionary, the biggest thing is like serving people in ways that are meaningful to them. And that's probably one of the biggest things that I've learned being in the behavioral health field. I know we talked a lot about it on Don's episode when we first started. How like Don's mentor was Charlie, and Don was kind of my mentor as well as Down. And it's been just a big part of like serving people in the ways that mean most, like to them, things like that. So,
did you grow up in like a service household, or did you just like, how did you get that mindset? Did you always have that, or?
I think a lot of it was our upbringing. I grew up with we lived with our grandparents most of my life, so I was always with them. I was always helping grandma with the fowls or helping her to cook on Sunday dinners. And I was also like the oldest, so a lot of just mowing the lawn, all the big chores, outside chores, things like that. That was always things that I was responsible for. So yeah, I think a lot of it was my upbringing in this. And then when I went on my mission, I found that for me, like the most effective way for me to connect with people was through service like that. It's like genuine, like, well, I'm not just doing this so I can teach you something or I can get something from you. It's like genuinely just trying to help you out.
Bro, you know what's funny? my first area, my dad, my trainer, our first day out, he goes, all right, go talk to somebody. I was like, hell no. I was like, talking about what? He's like, talking about the gospel, talking about Jesus Christ. I was like, nah, bro. He was like, well, go talk to somebody. And I was like, all right. So I went and talked to this lady, and this Moli lady. And I was like, hey, what's up? We're missionaries. And she was like, oh, I'm not interested. And I was like, oh, we're just going around cleaning people's garages. Can we clean your garage? And she was like, you guys will clean my garage? I was like, yeah, I'm down. Like, if you're okay with that. She was like, yeah. She opened up her garage. Bro, we cleaned it out, and then she let us teach her.
Yeah.
I was like, dang, that's crazy.
This thing, man, just being able to like when I think it like brings people's walls down, like to open up a little bit more when they see that you're just like
Trying to serve them.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I feel like that's something like nowadays is kind of like rare. Like you see a lot of people doing things just so they can like get an advantage, or like, oh, I'll help you here, you help me there type thing. But a lot of it like just genuine service. Something that's I don't see it as much anymore.
Do you think that's a generational thing? Like, do you feel like that's in your generation, or did you see it with older folks as well?
I think mostly, well, I don't know, because I've seen it like once in a while with older folks, but sometimes like in my generation, it's always like weighing the outcomes of like, oh, if I do this, then what do I benefit from it? So I think it's just like as like the younger generations as we come, it's like, oh, well, if I do that, then what are you gonna do for me? And I've seen it a lot, like more so with like my youngest siblings type things, being able to interact with them and see them. It's always like, okay, cool. Like if I do this, then what am I gonna get from it? Then
Yeah. I asked that because my little cousin was like that. So she was asking me how I can talk to people, and like one of my other little cousins needed help with raising money for her basketball fees. She's on a traveling team. And so I hit up a bunch of people, and then one of my homies was like, oh shoot, yeah, I'll cover it, bro. And then he covered it for her. And she was like, how did you do that? Like, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, bro, like, you just be a good person. And then people in return, you know, like, return the favor in some way. And she was like, oh, so you try to find people that can serve you in the future. I was like,
you missed the whole point of it.
bro, I'm dead serious. I was like, what?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, like, you just serve because that's who you are. Yeah. She was like, okay. Anyways, yeah, it was just wild, her thought process. That's why I thought of that, because I felt like I didn't see that a lot. Like, all the older folks in our family, hey, we're going to go move the family down the street. Do we know them? No. But we're going to go move them. Yeah. It's like, oh my gosh.
And it's just for the sake of
it. Yeah.
Just because we can.
Yep.
So.
I think, I don't know what you guys think about this, but I always think of when I used to serve, there'd be people that would give me feedback, and they'd be like, hey, just be careful, because people are going to take advantage of you. And my response always goes, I don't do this because I'm hoping they treat me good. So I'm doing this because that's just what you should do. You should do right. And if they choose to do bad unto you, then so be it. I'll learn from it, but I'm not doing it from that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that goes the same way. Like, and I think it's generational. You guys ever seen those TikToks where you talk about how you used to hang out back in the day, and kids are just like riding their bikes to their house, knocking on the door. Hey, is so and so here? Oh yeah, they're here. Cool. Then you just like, that's how you start your day. Here it's like, oh, I'll text. Hey, what are you doing today? Like, it's back then you had to interact, or else you're just gonna sit in the house. Nowadays, you can find interaction through social media, there's so many avenues that you can find your interaction with. So I think generationally, like, we're forced to go out and make connections face to face rather than through technology.
I think it's I think you're kind of like in the sweet spot, because you're 25, right? 32, 31, we're kind of like more in the older generation, but you're like in the middle, where you're experiencing the younger generation, but you also have memories with the older generation. Do you feel like it's a hard transition for you with that, like being able to connect with the younger folks, but then also like having the values and principles of the older folks?
I guess, yeah, to an extent. I think some of the, like, relating it back to, for me directly, is like work. So whenever I'm working with, like, when I would work with the kids, I think my favorite thing was taking principles that I had learned, like, oh, this is how you have, like, a healthy relationship between your friends, between your family, your mom, your dad, those things, and then applying it to them, like, nowadays. One example I used to use a lot when I was, even when I was working or just talking to people, like, where one of the things we do is transition them into, like, having technology again. So, like, everybody use their phone, be on social media, things like that. One of the examples I would use is my little brother. Because my little brother, he's a pretty social person. He likes to go kick it with his friends, do all that stuff. But then one thing that I see with my little brother that I never saw, like, with my friends, is that even when he's at home and he's, like, by himself, he's still connected with them. They're all on the game, and then he's on the game with them. They're all on FaceTime on his phone. Everyone's just on, like, they're all so connected, so they don't even have to be together to be having, like, those, like, strengthening those friendships. And so I think for me, I don't know if it's like a advantage, but it's something that's nice, because I'm not like him. Like, I don't just sit on FaceTime with, like, my friends or call them up whenever. I don't take advantage of technology the way that I should. But I think that's one benefit from the newer generation, is they're just able to, it's like a benefit, and it's also something that, like, is hurtful to them, because then when they're in person, sometimes those interactions just aren't the same for them. I've seen, like, the social awkwardness with my youngest sister sometimes, like, seeing her interact with people. I'm like, hey, you gotta get out more, like, you gotta start talking to people and things like that. But
Yeah.
I've seen the ways they can transition technology to real life, and how, like, valuable that can be. So.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I struggle with the younger generation. Like, I really feel like an old person. Where I'm like, damn, dude, you're an idiot, bro. Like, how do you not, for real? Like, I'm just like, but yeah. So, like, I just can't imagine being in your situation, because, like, when I was on my mission, the last 3 months of my mission was the transition when 18-year-olds were going on a mission. And so I was 21, turning 22. Then I had a bunch of 18-year-olds coming out on the mission. And I was like, holy crap.
Like fresh out of high school.
Yeah, fresh out of high school, don't know nothing. And I was like, bro, I would not last out here if I started at that point, like, being my age and watching 18-year-olds come out. I'm like, I'm so glad I'm going home, man. I could not handle it. It was tough for me. Still tough.
Before we get too far ahead in your life, you said you grew up in the Alta Draper area?
Yeah.
How was that? Because me and John grew up in West Valley. I don't know if there's a lot of polys where you're growing up around, but how was it growing up in Alta and Draper?
Yeah, like, it was cool. There wasn't a lot of polys growing up. I remember I went through elementary and middle school, and there was only one other Polynesian kid that I would go to school with, and there was, like, 2 Malay kids that were there with us too. Then when we got to high school, I think I was, like, a sophomore. We got a new coach, and he was the all poly. Like, his camp was all poly.
Yeah.
So after we got him as a coach my sophomore year, we had a group of polys just all come over to Alta. That was the first time I really, like, had, like, Polynesian friends that I just hung out with, like, a lot. And that's just because we all played ball together. But
Dang.
it was cool. Mostly grew up with a lot of just following kids and around the area. So.
Do you see a difference, or are you too young to understand, like, when there was only you and another kid versus in high school when there was tons of you around? Like, were you more open, or because you seen more people like you?
I think the biggest difference for me is I just started hanging out with them more, because I had, like, a group of boys that I would kick it with when I was a freshman that we would always I would just always go be with them. But I was also like my mom's oldest, so I was like it was like hecka strict.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was go to school,
Oh,
practice,
okay.
come home. You're going, who are you going with, what are you guys doing, like that type of thing. So
Yeah.
I didn't really go out a lot, even when I was like a sophomore, but it changed a little bit when I was a senior, but
Yeah.
not too much.
Yeah, I asked that because growing up, probably elementary, I had a lot of Palangi friends. And I had poly friends here too, but junior high when I started playing football, I feel bad thinking about it, but like I just pretty much ditched them and just started hanging out with the people I balled with, and it was pretty much all the polys. So like, yeah, I don't know if it's just natural that we just connect with our own people more, even if you didn't grow up around all of that. Somehow you just gravitate towards them when you do get in that environment.
I think that's common for a lot of cultures though. Like, because the biggest thing that I've seen like as an adult is like my mind, like the mindset that we have just in the Polynesian culture and the upbringing. It's easy to gravitate towards people who are like-minded with you. And that doesn't mean, that's why I think like right now, some of like the closest friends that I have, some of them are Palangi. But, and it's the difference in it is their mindset and the way of thinking is a little bit more similar to the way that I think. And so that's kind of what like sparked the friendship. And I think that's something that just in like our culture, like, so many things are just so like, it's like when I first started kicking with you guys, like with John, when John first started coming around, even when I was working with you at first, like it's just so easy to open up to those who are within the culture, being able to like, I don't know, it just brings us closer. So
You know what's funny? Growing up, I didn't realize I was poly. Like, I knew I was Samoan, but I didn't know what that meant. So when I moved here from San Francisco, and like people were asking, "Are you Samoan or Tongan?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't know." Like, I was like, "Both, I guess." And so, yeah, that's when I started learning more in like junior high and stuff like that, like the differences and things like that. And so, did you feel like you had identity shift or recognizing that you were Polynesian?
Maybe not like to that extent. Like, I think a little bit when I was like 11 or 12. We moved from a Palangi ward to a Samoan ward, and so I think a lot of that kind of helped me because they would like the whole program was in Samoan. We would bless the sacrament in Samoan and do all those things. So it helped me to more like, oh yeah, like I'm Samoan. Even like right now though, I'm not like super, like I don't know all of our traditions. I don't know, like I'm not super deep into the culture, which is something I should definitely work on. But yeah, I would say back when I was in like middle school when we moved to that Samoan ward. So.
Did you always know you were Samoan?
I mean, I feel like you have a story that you
What story do you think I'm gonna
Did
tell?
Mom have a story for you? I don't know. I'll ask you that, dude.
I don't know.
Is there a story that pops up in your
Yeah.
mind that you feel like, oh wait, maybe I
didn't-
didn't.
Not-
Maybe I
like,
didn't think I
I've
was
been told about
Samoan.
the story, but I don't remember. This. I don't know.
Let's hear your version, then I'll share
Yeah,
someone else's version.
because mom told us some stuff.
Did you always know you were Samoan?
So the answer is no. Mom's told me a story when we were somewhere with my little cousin, or my older cousin on my dad's side, and he was scared of where we were because he said that there were a lot of white people, and I guess supposedly I told him, "Oh, you don't have to be scared. Like I'm white too." Just take it." I don't know how old I was, but I do not remember that.
I read it.
Well, Mom said when Drew was in kindergarten, was a kindergartner. You don't remember?
Kindergarten, bro.
Come on, man.
I don't remember.
He thought he was white. We were visiting his cousins in San Francisco, and one of his cousins is half black and half someone. And he said he was scared because of the neighborhood they were going to eat at, because there was a lot of whites, like you said, a lot of white people. Drew told him not to be scared because he was white and it would be okay. Oh man, were you light skinned as a baby?
You're still pretty light skinned.
Well, yeah,
You're not white light skinned.
I was never that light.
Yeah, but it's probably because you was hanging out with a lot of white kids.
Yeah, because that's when we went to Palangi, where so I was the only one.
Oh,
So were you like listening to Blink 182 and like NSYNC?
like your hair? Did you have to like
Yes.
uncover your eyes?
You know what's like funny about that is like I used to have straight hair, like my hair used to be wavy. I used to have like curtains like this until I was like 11. Then my hair started to get.
Was that a choice?
Like right here?
Yeah, like right there. Nah, man, like if you've seen me, like pictures of me growing up, like you see like what I'm wearing, my haircuts and everything, man, it's all my mom's. And she was doing me heck of 31. I used to wear those jeans. I used to wear jean shorts to school with like these bright silver shoes that were like just knockoff Jordans. But I used to wear jean shorts like down to here and a plaid button up all the way up to here.
Damn.
And I was in like end of elementary, middle school.
You still have those pictures?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, that's mom.
Yeah, we'll just stop them off. Auntie, if you got those pictures, send them our way, please.
While we're talking, I'm gonna be posting them.
The story you just said of what you wore, there's going to be a picture on the video of you wearing that.
What is it called? A montage. We're gonna cut it and just let it play you.
She gonna send me like my first day of school. Terrible.
That's a Woody though.
That's funny. You touched on not knowing the culture, not knowing the language. Growing up, did you feel any, like, I could say discrimination because you didn't speak someone or you weren't raised into the culture?
Not really.
No?
Most of Polynesians I went to high school with, they didn't speak their languages either, or they weren't fully immersed like that. The only ones I really felt it from was there's a couple like fobs that went to church with us. And they try and give me crap, but it's like in their broken English, so it's like.
Yeah, it's not even that funny.
But yeah, not really. I think the biggest like one of the reasons I would love to speak the language is for my grandparents, just to be able to like first for my grandpa it would be like yeah like I did it, but for my grandma it would just be to like
Communicate.
Like it's all good, you know.
That's dope. It's funny. I remember when you're talking about grandma and grandpa. Man, I have so many stories of growing up of getting slapped because I just couldn't speak back to my grandma. And my grandma was like, just said talking to me in Samoan, and I didn't know how to speak, but man, she would get so mad. Obviously, she was older, so like her mind was already going. But like I've woken up to me sleeping on the couch and a freaking walker getting tossed at my head because my grandma's yelling at me, bro, to make her coffee, and I just. But she's saying it in Samoan, so even if I was up, I wouldn't understand. And bam! I was like, oh my god.
That's crazy, bro.
My grandma was old, though, so like, it wasn't fully tossed as hard as it could be. But, man, so many stories. Not just from my grandma, but like even kids we went to school with, like, and I know they were joking, but like, I don't know. I know there's a story of me and Beach, but like, we were like, what the hell? We're Samoan. But how you're not because you don't speak as a frick you guys.
Yeah. I think that's the easiest thing for me because like I get asked that by like people a little bit older than me when I'm at work and stuff now. Oh, how come you don't speak? I was like, hey man, my parents don't speak either. Like if they weren't able to teach me, like it's not my fault.
Yeah.
So. But now I'm old, like I can learn it for myself. So
Oh, mom and dad don't speak?
nah, like mom, they understand like a lot, but they don't speak.
Yeah, my mom and dad could speak full Samoan. They just didn't want to teach us.
Bro, I didn't know that.
Yeah, man, my dad, like, when him and my grandma would talk, like, full-on conversations. Same with my mom.
See, That was like my mom. It's like your parents. Like she understood, and she could kind of carry on a conversation, but she mostly just understood.
So that's where my mom was. My mom was that can kind of fully understand, kind of speak, but my dad could full on have conversations.
Being from.
Yeah,
That's it was always so like so funny, like the older I got, like seeing how different it was between like my grandpa raising his kids and then my mom raising hers. So like my grandpa, he spoke good English he speaks good English because he was in the army or he was in the Marines. But grandma, her English is not good at all. And then seeing it like none of their kids like spoke some unless they learned it on their own. So just seeing how like me growing up, like why would I speak if my parents like that was not a priority for them when they were living in their households. So.
yeah.
But the biggest thing I think it was both of my grandparents, for mom and dad, they were both immigrants here. So a big thing for them was just like, okay, you guys, like our family's here now. This is how it's gonna help you guys be successful. It's just teaching them English. So
There's a quote that I really like is honor those that came before you and leave a legacy for those that come after you. So for you being second or third generation, how have you taken upon yourself to honor those that have came before you? Because you talked about your grandparents. In what ways do you feel like you've honored them, or you're striving to honor them and their sacrifice to coming to a totally different country, not knowing the language, the traditions, the policies, things like that? So what is that?
I think for me, this last the last year and some change, I feel like I've done like a lot of personal growth, like growing in my life. And it's funny because when we talked on Nico's podcast, like a lot of Nico always said was like not looking back with regret or just being like content knowing that you are where you are like for a reason. For me personally, that's something that I've kind of taken into account over the last couple of weeks. So I'd say that the biggest thing is just striving to, first of all, like make myself proud, but then also to, by doing so, then I can help make like my grandparents proud, my parents proud, things like that. And I think the biggest thing is just doing what I like really want to do, because I think that's the biggest thing. Especially talking with like my mom and my dad, the biggest thing is just like they've worked so hard my whole life to give me options, and so if I'm taking advantage of it, doing what I love, then for them that's like a success. It's for their kids to be happy. So I think that's the biggest thing for me, is just living, like not just living to get by, just kind of making sure that I'm taking advantage of every opportunity I got in life. So.
That's dope.
I think I don't know if that's just our culture, but you see so many shows with other cultures where they're like, I want you to be a doctor, lawyer. So one thing I love about the poly is like, and it's true for me, I don't know if it's across the board, but a lot of your parents just want you to be happy in what you choose to do for your life. And so I love that. We talked about you growing up as the oldest boy. How's it? How many siblings do you have?
I got 5 siblings. There's 3 boys and 3 girls.
How's it being the oldest?
It's cool. I feel like when I was getting ready to graduate, I feel like I felt a lot of pressure, trying to be the example, trying to make sure I'm doing everything that my moms and my dad that they wanted me to do. My perspective on it has kind of changed a lot actually since I've been home the last 5 years from my mission. It's been more so from a place of like support. I think the biggest thing that I've learned from my parents recently, so it was funny, like I've had conversations with my mom where like my upbringing is so much different than my siblings, just being the first in her first kid and things like that. But she's, I I think the biggest thing for me now is just as an older sibling is just taking like a stance of support, rather than trying to like put my siblings in check or tell them, hey, like don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. It's more so being like supportive of kind of them and what they're doing. I'd say a big piece of like how I am as an older brother is Dallin, who's off camera, is how he is as an older brother as well, because he's second in line right after me. So it's kind of a big balance, just being able to bounce off of each other. Like me and him just take turns. Like when they need to be put in check, they're putting the kids in check, letting them know. But for the most part, just letting them kind of govern themselves. After, like my parents have already done the groundwork, teaching them and everything. So I think that's the biggest thing I can do for my siblings is just kind of let them live their life, be there when they need me, just be a support for them. So
No, I love that because ultimately, right now, those are the ones that are looking up towards you. You know what I mean? Like John said, I don't know the quote verbatim, but like the younger siblings are the ones that you're trying to leave a legacy for. Obviously, right now in your life, that's where it's at. But at the end, your kids, they're your siblings' kids. But right now, I love that you said you're very aware of your younger siblings coming to you. Like you have to have someone to come to you for support, but also to check you. Like as the baby of the family, like I noticed many times where my brothers put me in check because I was all spoiled when I was a baby. Like there's times where I would get out of line. But yeah, so that's good. How's your relationship with all your siblings?
I say it's better than what it used to be.
Yeah.
I'm pretty close with all three of my sisters. Me and Dallin got pretty close working this last year together, and I think a lot of that just comes from like our situations where like we was all living together out there, and then also work gave us like a common, almost I want to say not enemy, but like something that we could work on together. So it was always something like we could just workshop, and he was one of my mentors because he'd been in the field for about a year before I got there. So it was nice just being able to like learn from him and kind of take those principles and things like that. My baby brother Chachi, I say for him, it's probably the like if any of my siblings I'm not super close to, would be him. But I think it's just like he's the youngest, so a lot of times it's just bumping heads with me and him. But it is what it is. He's cool. One thing I learned about him like recently. He's super good like socially, which I didn't expect from him. Like we went out to eat at Chili's and he was super polite to the waiter, super like patient when things are going on. I was like, dang, I never would have expected that out of you.
Thought he was gonna be mean to them?
I thought he was gonna be mean. He was mean at the house, so that's what I thought he was gonna do. But like seeing that aspect and like seeing all of my little siblings like grow and kind of be around in their own lives, I think that's really helped me to gain an understanding of like my role in theirs, rather than like, because what I used to take it as is like I'm the oldest, like not only am I like a role model for you, but then that means like what I tell you, like if you don't do it, then it's not gonna be like you're not gonna do good, or it's not gonna be okay. Whereas now it's more so like, and I'll give you some advice, whether you take it or not. Like that's on you, kind of being able to help them make their own choices, and then also it's like living with the consequences of their choices, and things like that. So
that's dope. Mom and Dad, I know you talked about how they're second generation, how much they helped you, how much you being happy means a lot to them. What do they mean to you?
They mean everything to me. It's like mom and dad need anything, I'll drop in, get them what they need to the best of like my abilities. I talked about it a little bit last time, me and my mom's relationship. She got super close with her before and after the mission. Long talks, just life goals, and just kind of getting to know her. Not even just like, I want to say like getting to know her as my mom, but also seeing her like in a different life, like in a different light. it's like this is her life, this is her background, like being able to relate to her and things she would do when she was a young adult. That's something I was always super, like I'm super grateful for with my moms. With dad, it's been a lot growing up. A lot of times I would always help dad, be taking him to work or running kids to practices, things like that, and it's been nice. And then as I've gotten older, it's been nicer just being able to see my dad like open up, like joke around. My dad is one of the funniest guys I've ever met, man. This guy is hilarious. I didn't realize how funny he was like till I was an adult. So just being able to get to know him, hearing about him and his stories, with him and his siblings, it's been real nice getting to be closer with them, and it feels like now it's just more genuine, and I'm just like, because of my understanding now, it just means a lot more to me than my parents. So
Man, your dad, I remember you guys showed me the text he sent, like the family group chat.
yeah,
Dumb joke, but I started cracking up. So I forgot how it was, but like it's nice to see, because I can relate. My dad was the funniest person to me ever.
yeah,
But it's cool to see you bonding with your dad through that. And when your dad sent that text and he just showed me, I was cracking up. Just because it reminded me of something my dad would do, like just send out this dumbest joke but thinks it's the funniest thing in the world.
That's one thing my dad is always like. He's always helped me with it ever since I was little. Just being able to like take jokes, being able to just laugh and things like that. Like he would always. And my dad, I think he was like the first person that started making fun of me when I started wearing glasses as a freshman. I remember I couldn't see the board, so my mom took me in to get glasses, and she got me these ugly pair of thick rectangle glasses that I used to have to wear all the time because I couldn't see nothing. The first time I wore them at the house, I walked in, my dad looked at me, he's like, "Damn, your nose is hella big." I was like, "Oh my god,
That's funny, bro.
that's crazy because it's your nose." Like, he has no shame. But it's things like that he just like he's one of the funniest dudes.
Bro.
Clown, man.
I don't know what it is about that generation, that second generation of being here, but they're so inappropriate with their jokes. Like my dad, man. So when I first started working in the field, I was like, man, I love this job. He goes, oh, okay. And then I was walking out to go to work. He goes, hey, make sure you don't touch the girls, kid. I said, Dad, you can't say stuff like that. He goes, ha. It just wakes me off. I was like, but it's funny because like me saying that, if I tell this story to my family, they're like, oh, that sounds like that. That sounds like that. Like, it's that second generation, dude. Like, they just have no filter and think they're the funniest people in the world.
That's hilarious. That's what it's like when my dad gets together with his brothers. Man, they just be non-stop laughing.
Yeah.
All the time.
Man.
I feel like I miss that type of humor though.
Yeah.
Like I feel like humor nowadays isn't as funny.
Oh, man.
I feel like it's definitely not.
I feel like it's not like, I'm not saying like the older generation is like hella clever, but I feel like they're witty. Like they have, they can fire off back and forth. And it's like, I don't know. I loved watching that with like the older folks and all that stuff where I'm like, damn, these guys can give it, bro. These guys are funny as hell.
I don't know what it is. Maybe it might be technology why this generation is just a little more sensitive, or they have, like, I don't know, because I tell you now, if my dad was alive, like, you'd probably get canceled because of the story I just told. Like, it don't matter. He's not here no more. So
You can't cancel
you
it.
can't cancel him. So, like,
That's crazy.
might have to edit it out. My siblings might get mad.
Too soon, John.
No, hell no. That was funny as
I think
hell.
that's a big thing with like today's world, like even this most social media world. It's like everybody has the ability to speak on anything, whether or not it applies to them. And I think that's something that, like, back in the day, it didn't matter. It's like, man, it got nothing to do with you. Just leave it alone. But nowadays, like, everybody has a voice. Everybody has an opinion, which is cool.
Yeah.
But then also building off of it, then we have like irrelevant voices in places where they don't need to be.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter, or just taking offense to things that they don't understand or they don't. Yeah. So.
Kind of made me think of so when my younger brother-in-law, he was in high school his senior year. They had like some walkouts and stuff like that in high school, and this freaking clown went on the walkouts, and it was like for Hispanics, and it was like all the Hispanic kids went and walked out, and then he left too, and then all these other Palangi kids and all that, and then they went and walked, and I was like, why'd you go walk? He was like, oh, so I could just get out of class. I was like, what? But I say that because I feel like that's how it is, where it's like, oh, something's happening, I gotta say something or else I'm against it. So I don't want to seem like I'm against whatever's happening, so I'm gonna just post whatever, or say whatever, but they're not really about it. They just don't want to be left out. I really don't know, but that's just my perspective.
Yeah.
I'm like, but I do believe, like you're saying, I do believe it's good. I'm grateful that everyone has a voice and they can speak on whatever they want to speak on. It's just kind of like what you're saying, like speak where, I don't know what the wording is, but speak where you're really passionate about, not where you're just trying to be relevant.
Exactly.
So
There's one time my mom pulled me out of class like 30 minutes early in my middle school math class. And our middle school was set up so it's like 3 classrooms go through one door. So you go through the door to the first classroom, and get to the back, and there's a divider. There's 2 separate classrooms. There's one time she pulled me out of the class because I had like a few missing assignments. She checked me out of class, and my class is in the corner. She made me sit in this empty one in the front, and then school ended, and my whole class that I just got checked out of walked past me while I'm sitting in this, like, I have my head down in this desk, and my mom is sitting right next to me. And everybody walked by me. And right after school, we went and we talked to the teacher. And then she got more mad at me because the teacher was, like, being super nice because she saw I was in trouble. She's like, I probably just lost the assignment, so I'll just give him credit. And then I got in trouble for that because we got in the car, my mom was like, you think everyone's just gonna like you? And, like, you just do this whenever? I was like, I didn't ask her to do that. I'm sorry. I remember second times for like just for school stuff like that. That was the main thing I was getting in trouble for growing up.
it's like attendance.
No, because I was a smart kid. I was always there in class. It was just like stupid things like missing assignments. That I was just, and I would like. I remember my dad would ask me about a bunch of assignments, and I would pull it out of my bag, and it's got my name on it, and it's halfway done. I just never finished it. My parents just never understood that. I never understood it either. But.
Do you feel like that? This is super random. Do you feel like that has rolled into other parts of your life? Because you talked about like you're a good kid, you're smart, but you just like only did half of the homework, or you forgot to do the homework, or whatever it may be. Like, do you feel like that rolled into your life?
Yeah, that's definitely a big part of like improvements that I'm trying to make on myself and things like that. Like straight off the Mish, I noticed like I went to school for a semester. I was a terrible student. Like I didn't study well. I didn't have any like study tactics. And then when it came to the work, I was like, man, I can't even like bullcrap this right now because I don't even know what it's talking about. So I'll just kind of like leave it. A big thing for me is like procrastination. Just kind of getting things done at the last second. So that's why it's always so hard because I'm like looking at my life now, like I'm willing to do the work and I know when I can and when I need to. The difference is like taking that next step to improve just kind of what I'm doing. The easiest example for me is like Amazon. When I was at Amazon, I was a PA, and that in and of itself was like easy because all I had to do is, I just got to get the managers to like me. I know what I'm doing in my job, and I can help other people like know what their job is. But then I was that for a year, and then they were talking to me about like trying to get me to be a manager, or like if I was interested in that. And then what I heard was the qualifications for that was to be like, you have to have some kind of project and something that you were working on, and you need to present it and see how it was like efficient and things like that. And the first thing I thought to myself was like, damn, that's a lot of work, bro. I'm not trying to do that. And so automatically that's just like seeing and doing that. And then I was like, okay, well, I don't want to do that. So, dang, do I even want to do this like as an assistant manager, as a PA? So I dropped that and I just went part-time at Amazon, and I was doing that for like 8 months. I was like, man, and that's been a huge thing that's in my life. Just not taking the opportunities that are presented with me. That's why I'm super grateful for like the last year I had in the behavioral health field. It was the first place where I felt like I had actually taken advantage of the opportunities and things that were given to me. There's a lot of like learning curves and things like that, but it was the first time I was like getting creative and loving what I was doing, as far as like my work life goes. So,
do you feel like that played a role on your mission? Do you feel like you still had that same behavior rolling into your mission, or do you think your behavior changed while you're out there on the mission field? Kind of like procrastinating, not really taking the initiative with certain things.
Yeah, it definitely played a role in my mission. A lot of it was like, I hate to say it, but a lot of it was like how would I word it? It's like the record keeping part of being a missionary. So like area book. The only thing that I would really keep track of was like baptismal records, less actives, things like that. But as far as like doing the little things that definitely could have helped me as a missionary, I would just kind of like skip over it. Like even things in the morning, like I would always do my scripture study and then daily planning, rather than like intently going in and being like, we're going to discuss like we're here, we're going to share this part of the lesson, things like that. It would more so be like, okay, like cool, we're on lesson 3, baptism, cool, you're going to extend the invitation, yeah, cool. And then it would just fly by on like almost winging it. On the mission we got away with it because it was a lesson plan we called As the Spirit Directs. So we just kind of say, oh yeah, we'll just go in there and we'll follow the Spirit. And it worked a lot of the times, I think, because we were missionary. But then carrying that mindset home, the biggest thing that the Spirit works off of is planning. Like us doing our part in order for me to be successful. It's not just going to come to me. And I think that was a big wake-up call when I got home. Just realizing that, like, damn, I got to, like, things aren't just going to happen for me. Like, I got to make them happen.
Yeah.
So.
You talked about your mission a lot, especially on Nico's podcast, but remind the people, where did you serve?
I served in Liberia on a mission, West Africa.
Why do you think you got called there?
I think one of the biggest reasons was to help me be grateful. That's one thing I learned on my mission, is just be grateful for like the small things that I got. Small things like power, water, even just having like a phone, things like that. I think another reason that I was called there is it helps build like my compassion for others. Because I hear about like missionaries in the States and like taking all this rejection and people like harassing you and things like that. And like me personally, when I was 18, right out of high school, like I don't know if I could have handled that. Like I'm sure if I did, like the Lord would have provided a way, but like His way of providing for me was calling me to somewhere else. But the people are very compassionate, they're very loving, they're very open, and so I think that was just something that it taught me. Was being grateful and then humility. Yeah, these are two of the biggest things.
I want to stay on the mission a little more because, like, when it comes to talks about the gospel, you light up. I don't even know if you notice it, but like, what was some of the biggest experiences you went through that you don't mind sharing in Liberia that strengthen your testimony that, like, or is there a moment that made you like feel like, dang, I was meant to be here at this time, at this moment?
There's a lot of moments where I was like, dang, like, especially with individual people that we would be teaching, where I would be like, dang, like, I'm here for you, like, I'm here,
Yeah.
like, because we have a connection outside of the gospel, like, I'm able to connect with you, serve you. I think the biggest one was, it was just one night on my mission. I had been out probably about 7 or 8 months. On the mission, you're not supposed to be anywhere without your companion. And so my companion, I remember at the time he was 26, Elder Larty, loved the dude. I think he was chilling outside, because I remember I was outside and we had just finished building like a fire in the fire pit or something. And so we just, like, I was killing the fire, and it was just like a moment of like peace that I had, and it was like, in that moment I was like, dang, like, this is like really where I need to be. Like, that's kind of where, like, I wouldn't say the foundation of my testimony is, but it's definitely one of the stronger building blocks for me. Because I couldn't tell you a lot. Like, I couldn't tell you a lot about I couldn't tell you anything about what we did that day. I couldn't tell you what day it was, but the distinct feeling that I had, like, in that moment was like I've only felt it like a few times before, and the few times is like in the temple, like very sacred places. So just having that experience, being there, going through what I did, the first part of my mission leading up to that point, has really, I think that's what like really defined, helped solidify like me being where I was. Because I think the biggest thing for me is realizing, like, if I wasn't there in Liberia, there's a lot of people who mean a lot to me in my life and have given me like what I need to grow, that I wouldn't have met if I hadn't had the chance to serve in Liberia. So
I think when you were telling that story, it just made me feel grateful that you served. And then the scripture pops in my mind. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. Christ, one of his names that he goes by is the Prince of Peace. And it just sounded like you just had a moment, an experience of like overwhelming peace of like, man, like, I'm out here, like, he needs me here and I need to be here as well. One thing that my uncle said before I left on my mission was, Elder Davidson, you're going to go out to Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh needs you, but you need to remember that you need Pittsburgh too. And that's something that I always held throughout my whole mission, realizing that, like, I'm not high and mighty coming out there saying, like, I'm here, boys. Yeah. But like you telling that story, like, just sounded like that, where it's like, nah, like, I needed these guys. Like, I needed them to help me grow as well, as much as I needed to be there to help them grow. So I just thought that was cool to be able to hear that what seems like a simple experience was actually a great impression on you. So I thought that was dope, and appreciate you sharing that for real.
I think that's the thing people don't understand about serving. As much as good you're doing to others, like, man, like, there's not a better feeling you get from seeing the results of your service. Whether that just be like a smile, you know what I mean? Like, the littlest things that come from just being nice, or the biggest things that just come from like helping someone, like a lady, like, who can't, or old lady who can't lift like a pack of water into her trunk. Like, it's amazing how you don't understand how much that benefits you as well. Mm-hmm. And so I love that you guys both shared that about service. I said that you light up when you talk about the gospel, and that's because of the experience, the conversations I've had with you for me, I know I kind of grew up in the gospel, but like I wasn't ever like forced to like do scripture studies, like do all the kind of all the physical things. Did you have a testimony going on your mission? Like, sorry, I knew you grew up in the church, and I know a lot of missionaries that grew up in the church, they just feel obligated to go.
In the past, like when I first got home, I remember I used to answer this question. I'll be like, no, I didn't have a testimony like at all. But then looking back, like I committed 2 years of my life knowing it was going to be halfway around the world without any family, friends, nothing. Like I definitely had like the beginning of my testimony at least, to where it was like, I know that this gospel has done enough good and given me enough peace in my life where I know that I have a testimony of it. I think that's been the biggest thing with the gospel and the role that it's played in my life, is just like when I think back of when I was the most like not stressed, when I was the most peaceful, even in moments where I was like the most happy, like it all reflects upon like me having some type of spiritual experience, or at least feeling like that peace that I was able to feel while I was on my mission. So I think that's the biggest thing, is just because a lot of missionaries will tell you that, yeah, I didn't have like a testimony at all going on my mission, but I think for you to be able to commit 2 years of your life and kind of take that jump, you have at least the basis like of a testimony.
Yeah.
To me. So
What made you want to serve?
the biggest thing was obligation. Just like out of like I'm the oldest. I was the oldest cousin in Utah. Our oldest cousin for all of my mom's side had already served the mission, so he was a great example to me. And then also, realistically, like I used it as a buffer. It was like, man, I'm 18. If I don't go on my mission, man, I don't know what I'm gonna do, because I don't know like what colleges are. I don't know what college is like. I don't know if I'm ready for college. So I used it. I'm not gonna lie. I used it like as a little buffer. But the biggest thing was obligation and just like, my love for. I say my love for service, but then like when I got my call and it was like to Africa, like I was excited. Like don't get me wrong, but I was also like, I was looking at pictures. I was like, bruh,
A whole different continent.
shoot, man. I was like, I've never been past California. Like, I've never been to the East Coast. Yeah, but I think that was the biggest thing. And the biggest thing for me is that I don't think that's necessarily bad for missionaries to go and do that, because then when you mature on your mission, like I had that experience when I was 8-9 months out there already, so I had already been doing this. But then it just puts you, like missionary work puts you in a place to, it's like the best place you can have those experiences. Yeah. Just being set apart, having the rules, having the things that you're not partaking of that are in the world and things like that. Like, it's a great opportunity just to learn and to go.
So, because I've experienced that a lot on my mission as well, where like, honestly, like some people will come out because they're like, oh shoot, my pop said I gotta go on a mission before he pays for my college or pays for my car or pays for whatever. Like, so it's always connected to something else. But I like that you said, even though those things are what they are, like you still went, you still did it. So if young men or even young women are having doubts or whatever, or they have different agendas, do you feel they should still go on a mission, or do you feel like they should stay?
I think every person in every case is different. I think that the biggest thing is that the way that I look at it is like, you won't, like there's only so much you can lose by actually going on your mission. Going on your mission, there's going to be other opportunities, other things that are going to present itself because of you serving. But then also, if you decide to stay and decide not to go, that's also not a bad thing. Like, it's also something that I feel shouldn't be looked down upon, because everybody has their own personal paths to conversion.
Thank you.
Yeah, like Don, you didn't serve, but you're also one of the biggest, like, you're a pretty big example to me in my life of like living the gospel, and that's just being able to like see you when you work, and just seeing a lot of gospel principles come out in the way that you interact with others. And I think that's the biggest thing with, like, as far as the gospel principles go, is just like the way that we live, the way that we kind of carry ourselves in our everyday lives. That's been something that's, I'm not gonna lie, I've been struggling with for the last few years. Just kind of who I am and like what I really do represent, and kind of having memories about when I was a missionary and like how different my demeanor, like the things that I would do was. But it's something that I learned from Nico a couple weeks ago. It's like, I don't need to look back on that with regret. Just look back as something that I can learn from. That's a big thing I've been trying to work on, because I'm one of my biggest haters. It's like, I always be looking at myself like, damn, you're 25, bro. Like, you should be doing this, and that. Or if you had stuck with like school, you could have been graduated by now. That like yada yada yada. But just being able to look back and be grateful for the experiences that I have had, and even if it's not the best, the choices that I've made so far. So.
I think one thing that comes to my mind, bro, and I know Donovan could probably testify of it as well, is that like you're doing good, bro. Like, you're amazing, bro. Like, for real. The thing that I really noticed when I first met you was like, it sounds weird, but just like the spirit you held as an individual. I felt welcomed already. I felt close to you already. I felt like we can talk about anything already, and I love that, because like you said, like, you can be your biggest hater, but I just felt like I need to share that with you, because Heavenly Father's still working through you, helping and serving others. And so as far as you feel like you're away from Him, and as far as you feel like you've stepped away to do other things and experience other things, like, you're not as far as you think you are. And so I think that's something that's cool about the Spirit, is that every time you feel the Spirit is a cleansing experience. And so every time you feel the Spirit, it's not just that you're close to Him, but He's cleansing you through the Spirit as well. And so I just wanted to share that with you and tell you, like, damn, bro, like, you're loved and you're valued, not just by us and your brothers and sisters, but, you know, really by your Heavenly Father. Like, He still looks at you as a loyal son, not just because you serve, but just because you are who you are. And so I just wanted to share that with you, bro. And just,
I think that was the biggest thing that I had to learn was, like, as much as I care about the ones that love me, their opinion, like, I still do. But the one relationship that you got to care about most is Heavenly Father. And we're so hard on ourselves when we feel like we're disappointing Him. I know we're not, man. Like, I know, I've come to know that when we mess up, as long as we know that we're going to get, or try to do our best to get closer with Christ, we'll be okay. You're not your only hardest critic. You know what I mean? Like, everybody criticizes themselves harder than anyone else can. And that's, like, even me. That's been a big thing for me, that I had to learn how to, and it was really with just talking with this guy. It really was, like, and Bishop Kinney. Those are the two that helped me the most, to be like, hey, you're worthy. You might not think you are. I promise you, you coming to talk to me, just you're worthy. And the one thing that he told me, he goes, tell your friends come talk to me because they don't think they're worthy, but I'm telling you they're worthy too. All they got to do is come talk to me. So that's my invitation to you. Like you, I don't know if you're in your family ward or if you're in the ward with me, but go talk to your bishop, man. Come to the ward with me, my brother. YSA, they extended the age. I still got 4 years, baby. But for real, go talk to your bishop, whether that's your family ward or the YSA.
Yeah.
Like, to me, like once you talk to them, you just feel God called them for a reason. Mm-hmm. And for me, it just felt a sense of relief of like, dang. Yeah. I teared up when I first talked to him because I asked him, so can I take sacrament? And he goes, oh yeah, take it tomorrow. Because I met with him on Saturday. I started bawling because in my head I was like, man, I can't take sacrament for the next year. I can't do this. Yeah. And he's like, no, take it tomorrow. I was like, hold up, what? And he goes, take it tomorrow. And I just sat there, didn't say a word, and started crying. But yeah, man, like you know what you mean to me, especially you both of you guys over here. The one thing about this field is like, you just get a natural bond with those you go through it together because it's, I don't know where Veronica read it, but she read somewhere that's saying the mental health field is physically one of the easiest, but mentally it's ranked number one is the hardest. And that is because we're taking on through serving, you take on so many emotions, so many past traumas from other kids, and we're all human too. So like, you two going through that with me, you guys mean the world to me, man. Like, I look at you guys as little brothers, and even though you guys call me uncle all the time, no, you guys are my dogs for life, man. Like, and I mean that. But yeah, so like, don't be too hard on yourselves. Like, you guys are good, man. What's something you do to connect with your family now?
I'd say just easy stuff like showing up, just being at games, being like talking with them when I got the chance. I remember one thing that I missed a ton when I was in Arizona was like just games. Just going to my little brother's games, my little sister's games, just being there for them. I'd say as my siblings are getting older, the biggest thing is just having conversations with them. I talk to my sisters, the two oldest girls. I talk to them a lot, and I just have conversations with them. A lot of it like brings back to what we were talking about, like where I just help support them. I realize a lot of times like a lot of times when I'm there for my siblings, it's just so that they can be heard, just kind of express themselves in like a safe space, things like that, which it's got its ups and downs with that aspect, because then when it's like all the way over here, when I know that that's not productive or okay, then my words of advice become like a little bit more stern, like, hey man, you keep doing this, like this is gonna happen. But I say that's the biggest thing, just being able to connect with them, things like that. From my youngest two siblings, I'll say that it's the hardest for me to kind of have those conversations with, because they're so much younger, like mindset is so much different. It's easy for me and my baby sister, we have a good relationship, but I think a big piece of that is playing into like I'm the oldest and she's the baby. It's like anybody else ask me to do something, I'll probably like be irritated, be complaining while I'm doing it, but she asked me to do something, most of the time I'll just be up and doing it whenever, like whatever she needs, things like that. So I think my siblings, my relationship with them has definitely gotten like better over the years. Taking more time to like actually care about kind of what's going on in their lives. And I think a big piece of that plays into my mom's relationship with her siblings. Like, she's got great relationships with some of her siblings, and some of them she, like, it's kind of like, oh yeah, like, I'll see you, I'll talk to you when we see you type thing. That's been the biggest thing with my uncle passing a couple weeks ago. Like, I used to always think growing up, it's like, yeah, these my brothers and sisters, man. Like, they're stuck with me for life. Like, I'm not going nowhere. But then in reality, like, unless I'm taking time to like build and nurture those relationships, just like anything else in my life, like, unless I'm taking time and committing it to it, then it won't be as strong. So I think that's the biggest thing for me, is just trying to find productive time to connect with my siblings, even if sometimes we do butt heads. But yeah.
No, I think that's good. I think with Polynesians, because I never had that with my older siblings, like just conversations about life, and I don't think that's no fault to them, but I just think that's how typical Polynesian families work. Like, it was, I don't say I love you, but just know I love you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's dope to hear that you're sitting down talking with each and every one of them, especially as the oldest. That's dope. So when you talk to them, like the stuff you say, are you just lying, or?
I know what he's talking about. Freak you.
So do you
Freak that guy off camera too.
No. Like, do you just believe the stuff that comes out of your mouth? Like,
No. If I'm being honest, I don't. I just like say it and hope that nobody says anything.
choose one person that says before he thinks. And it's, of course, his little brother that calls him out the most. I feel like that's just been a thing that we all caught on to, and yeah, man, we're gonna call you out if you're lying to us.
I'll be so honest, I don't know where that started. I don't know how you like started doing that.
Yeah. Did you do it in school?
Do you know the origin?
Like, is that how you got away with half done assignments?
I just don't know. And the funny thing is like, there's no like positive to it. Like, what I say like gives no substance to what we're talking about. Like, it has nothing to, so it doesn't even matter.
It's funny because
I don't know.
You say it with such confidence and conviction that,
Yeah.
like, normally people are like, like, because we know you, we're like, hold up, what
Yeah.
did you just say?
Yes.
Bro, it has to be like a defense mechanism, though, to be honest.
Probably it's like
Like, in some certain degree, it has to be a defense mechanism of, like, some experience or experiences that you grew up with, where you felt like, because of, whether it's because of you're the oldest or whether because of whatever experiences you were going through, you had to be confident in whatever situation, whether you didn't want to look stupid or feel stupid or like whatever it may be, like the
yeah.
what is it, like the perspective of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, that
Trying
was like
to defend it.
yeah, that was like the thing that kind of, I know it's a joke, but it's the thing that kind of popped up in my mind, where
It
it's like,
spews from somewhere.
yeah, every behavior has a core experience, and so therefore, obviously, if it's coming up continuously, that means your inner self, whatever inner child you're having, speak at those moments. They're speaking from certain experience to be able to try to help you.
Yeah.
And I think the thing I love that, like, you can tell they're matured, because a lot of the times when we catch you, like, it's just funny moments. But like, whenever you need help with like big things, or like when you really don't know something like about trainings or whatnot, you're never afraid to ask. You're never just throwing out stuff that's false. But it's just the funny moments. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like, we were talking about the ski jumps, about like how they have that into the pool. And I was like, oh, I think they have it in Park City at the Olympian. He goes, yeah, Reggie Waters? I said, nah, not Reggie Waters, brother.
Yeah.
It's like they have slides, but they don't have an Olympic ski jump.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, so
That's
like,
weird. Like,
like it's cool how, like how John said, like it can start as a very defense mechanism, and then as you grow, you can, like, I don't know if you do it on purpose, but you just kind of mature it to where you're like, okay, this would be funny, or like this is something like I'm just gonna share about this.
like this is relevant.
But when it's like something serious, your inner child's like, no. You can't just make up some bullcrap about that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's something I noticed like lately because thank goodness you guys been calling me out on this so much. So I just be like, man, I think, or like presenting it as an opinion. So that
Rather
way,
than absolute.
yeah, rather than like heck of confidence is just
Yeah, sure, let me correct myself. He didn't say, yeah, Raging Waters. He said, oh, they got one at Raging Waters. It's like,
There's an exclamation point.
yeah. There wasn't question behind the tone.
yeah. I don't know where that like started, where it stemmed from. It's just
I think that would be something interesting to like kind of like dive into.
Yeah, to see
Yeah,
where
definitely.
the origins are.
I think that's something that I love about like brotherhoods, like how we have right now, is like these opportunities to be able to like call each other out, but not even just like call each other out just
Yeah.
for being like a jerk or whatever.
Yeah.
But really, it's like out of love. It's like, bro,
put 'em in check, man.
It's like, hey, bro, like you keep saying things like this and it's not true.
yeah.
But yeah, it's just out of love and service to individuals. And like we said, like not a lot of people have that. And I noticed that a lot, like even in the field that I'm in, like you can tell like when people have a group of dudes that they're close to, and then you can kind of tell when, like, yeah, you've been running solo for a while, bro. Like
Yeah.
you're looking for someone or a group of people, but you just don't know where to find it or how to even like interact with dudes like in that fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's in their life. What has helped you elevate your experiences, and what's some advice you would give to those that you love?
I think taking advantage of like the little interactions that we take for granted, just being able to open up, connect, and learn from those who are around us. I know we talked a little bit last time about like some of the older generation are just like expecting, like they just expect respect out of the younger ones and things like that, and nothing is kind of reciprocated. Becoming an adult and maturing a lot has helped me grow into more productive and mature conversations that I'll have with even just my aunties and uncles and my parents. So I think taking advantage of those moments where we can interact and making sure we maintain the relationships that we've built over the years. I learned a lot of that from Charlie, just being able to maintain a relationship, just not even just putting in the bare minimum, just doing the work that it requires. And it's like we talked about service, not just to check off a box, be like, yeah, good, I contacted them, like I called them this week, cool. But just out of genuine, like, man, I miss them or I love them type deal is the biggest word of advice that I got. It's not, especially being away this last year and not really having a lot of family interactions, like realizing how much I actually missed from my family has helped me realize, like, dang, it's actually like super important to keep in touch, like to talk to them, take advantage of game nights when I'm with my family, like just being able to communicate with them, my aunties and uncles that I don't see all the time. And so I think that would be my biggest word of advice, is to not take for granted the close relationships and friendships that we've built. I struggle with that a lot with friends. Like I'm super close with my family. Real open about talking like what I'm going through in my life with them. As far as like uncles, aunties, cousins, things like that go, I've noticed with friendships, that's one thing that's been a little bit tougher for me to an extent. because I don't want to say that I don't value friendships, but I don't see them in the same light that I see families, like my family. And I think that is, to an extent, like a good and a bad thing. But I've also seen, like in the last few years, I've had a couple of friends who are always willing to reach out, see if I'm down to either go out with them or just spend time with them. And a lot of those things I've taken for granted. So just making sure that we're proactive in those relationships that we have right now, I think is the biggest thing, because I've seen people in my family just grow apart simply because of distance, like people who have to move out of state, or like my dad's family who moved out of California. But I've also seen with my dad's family, like, the benefit of staying in contact with my cousins that stayed on there. We just pick up where we left off whenever I see them. So I think that's the biggest thing, is just putting in the work to maintain the relationships that we've built. And like we said earlier, not because it's something that you should do or something that'll benefit you later. Just simply because these are people in your life that mean a lot to you. There are people in your life that have had an effect on me and who I am today. That I've had personal experience with a lot of my aunties and my uncles and my friends that have helped me to be where I am today. So being able to focus in on those and realize the importance of it, I feel like a lot of people realize the importance of having those around them too late in life, or just too late to where, well, I guess not every relationship is not unsalvageable, but just being able to connect with people and really, like, enjoy those relationships. I feel like that's what's given me the most meaning in my life behind the gospel. Just being able to connect with people. So not taking those things for granted.
Appreciate it, bro. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Dallin, any questions? You want to tell us about the burrito? Just kidding.
He's not on camera.
I'm
He can't ask that
kidding.
question.
I got a question. You're trapped in the room. Alright? You gotta fight one of these animals. A Wolverine, an anaconda, or a crocodile. Who are you fighting?
Do I get any weapons or anything?
No.
It's just
What are you thinking right now?
I
Say what's on
didn't
your mind.
realize that it was that hard.
no.
Say
It's
what's on
between an anaconda or a crocodile.
Say what's
Alright.
on your mind.
Yeah,
I think-
say, bro.
I think I would fight.
Say your pros and cons on camera.
I think I would fight a crocodile.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Boom! Crocodile wins again.
I remember we had this conversation. I don't think my grip strength is strong enough to do anything to an anaconda.
Yes.
So if I catch him like this,
Fuck you don't
like
do
while
that now.
I'm squeezing him like this, like, it's gonna be wrapping around my body and I'm gonna die. But
You gonna lay on the crocodile forever?
I can lay on the crocodile, try to poke his eyes out, and just, I don't know.
Do
Try
all
to do
the
something.
anaconda. It's easier.
You can lay on the anaconda. It will still
No,
be able to
poke
wrap
his
the
eye
rest
out.
of his body and
And
just.
his mouth will be right there.
Alright, whatever. Yeah, nah.
That's
See,
crazy, bro.
I don't got grip strength like that, so I can't do that. It's-
That's crazy that no one picked the Wolverine, though.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hey, Wolverines are dogs, man.
I know, I would not
Fuck
miss
is
a
that?
Wolverine.
I seen a video where it's like fighting a pack of hyenas and then it just
Screw
walks
that.
off after, like nothing happened.
Are Wolverines where hyenas are at?
I think so.
I think they're in a
That's true.
forest.
You can fact check me on that, but I'm pretty sure it was fighting a group or something.
Because Wolverines fight bears.
They do.
Mm-hmm.
So everything.
Hyenas are in a safari
Yeah.
where you served.
I
Did
think
you
you're
see a
thinking.
Wolverine?
No, I didn't see any
he's out of
wildlife
a
except for
herd.
monkeys.
I think
Maybe I was thinking that. I don't
we need
know.
to check everything he said on this episode.
Everyone, please.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm gonna look this over now.
Go ahead, take us out, brother.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. That was Drew's episode, and him sharing his story. Please subscribe, to the channel, like it, share it, and we got some things coming up in the future. So we'll keep you updated about that. Some giveaways we want to do, some charity work we're trying to get involved in. But yeah, look out for that. And we are Elevate.